Welcome to the Midnight Vigil, the channel where the stars are always right and there really is a monster hiding underneath your bed. This is the 6th episode of Arcane Reference, the series where I discuss horror gems that may have flown under the radar and not gotten the attention or recognition I think they deserved. Tonight's episode is about the 2014 indie horror film Interior by Zachary Beckler. As usual, I'll discuss the history of the project, give my thoughts on it, and close with its overall legacy. As typical for the channel, this is an audio-only episode, so feel free to minimize and go about your business. Interior is about a young man, Sam, who is the main character, and Sam is asked by his old college girlfriend to investigate her new home, where she lives with her husband and young daughter. They believe that their home is haunted by ghosts, and they ask Sam to come in and film and do an overnight investigation. During the course of his investigation, Sam, of course, comes face to face with the paranormal, and the film follows the events of what happens during his night. So Interior is directed by Zachary Beckler, which was his feature film debut. Beckler has 2 other shorts that he also wrote and directed, Seance and Where is Alice? Interior was at least partially funded by Kickstarter, which brings up a weird synchronicity for the channel. I just reviewed Agony, a Kickstarted horror game, which I ended up hating, and it once again made me question Kickstarter projects. It seems for every Divinity or Pillars of Eternity, there's always a Mighty Number 9 or Agony waiting to spoil everyone's faith in the service. Interior has somewhat renewed my faith and interest in Kickstarter, and it's just kind of sad that the bad Kickstarter projects are pretty much what everyone talks about the most, but that's typical because bad news sells more than good news. Interior has a number of awards that are worth mentioning. It won Best Horror Feature at Shriekfest 2015, Best Director and Best Sound Design at New York City Horror Film Festival 2015. The sound design is well deserved because Interior features binaural 3D sound, so I think again that's a good review. It's a good award for this movie. You can check out Beckler's YouTube page where he has a selection of the film, which is the opening scene where he showcases his audio wizardry. I will leave a link in the description if you want to check it out. Of note, Beckler is also a professor at University of Central Florida, where he lectures on film. So on to my impressions. There's a couple of things here. I thought Interior was good, but not great, at least initially. I didn't elevate it to great status until I saw Beckler's other short projects, which tie directly into the overarching narrative of what I'm calling the Becklerverse. So the ideal viewing order is like this. Watch Seance, which you can see on YouTube, then start Interior, but stop when you get to the part where Allison and Drake and their daughter leave Sam alone in the house to go get Alice Whistler's diary. Stop the film there and watch Where is Alice, which is on Vimeo. Of course, both links to those shorts will be in the description. Then when you're done with Where is Alice, continue watching Interior. There's a narrative here, and that watch order made the most sense of everything going on, in my opinion. So this is an easy recommendation because the film is very scary and very creepy. Interior immediately made me jump with its clever use of sound design. Whereas most horror films begin slowly and build up the tension and scares, Interior goes right for the kill and made me jump in the first few minutes. The atmosphere in this film is very effective. Sam functions as the avatar for the audience, and the deeper he goes in his investigation, the deeper the audience is drawn into the haunting, and the more scared the audience will become. It's also very funny, which is worth mentioning to me because I hate comedy. It's by far my least favorite genre, so for me to say that this film is funny and it made me laugh a few times is worth a good mention. Sam's use of Facebook is realistic and pretty humorous because him getting on Facebook and updating and getting comments in real time as the film's going on about what's going on is pretty realistic. And now that I've seen it in this film, it almost stands out when I look at other films for why they didn't do this as well. And also the scene involving the pizza guy, who is played by director Zachary Beckler himself, shows the actor's range. I laughed a couple of times there, and it's a really nice interaction. The ending, which takes some very obvious nods to Kubrick's 2001: A Space Odyssey, annoyed me initially. It's the kind of ending I like narratively speaking, but thematically I felt like the movie concluded a few minutes too early. I wanted a little bit more out of the art house horror sequence that begins the ending of the film. This annoyed me before I saw the other two shorts in the Beckler verse, which I think is where the true answer is to what happens at the end of Interior. I won't spoil the ending, but suffice to say Sam encounters the paranormal and is forever changed by the experience. The effects are worth mentioning, in particular the creature effects. I got a Babadook-like vibe from the design of Emily. Speaking of other horror influences, it's important to mention Paranormal Activity, which gets a clever mention by the characters in the film. Whereas Paranormal Activity was a found footage horror film where the events are in the past and the audience is reacting to things that have already happened, everything in Interior is happening in real time. Just because it uses camera footage doesn't make it found footage. It's impossible to not somewhat compare the two, but I'll just say that Paranormal Activity relies on an almost entirely invisible entity, and in Interior, you'll definitely get to see Emily. Maybe, in my opinion, a little too often towards the ending of the film, though. The acting and directing are, in my opinion, better in Interior as well, which also helps it stand apart. So finally, I'll conclude by discussing Interior's legacy. Interior has, at this time, 128 reviews on IMDb for an average of 6 out of 10, which is obviously a very small amount of views. A lot of the features in my videos are driven by social media, particularly in the legacy portion, and this film isn't an exception. I never would have heard about Interior had it not been for a post on the horror subreddit, where the film was mentioned as an under-the-radar type of horror film that hadn't had a lot of attention or eyes on it, which made it perfect for Arcane Reference. Interior was filmed in 2014, but only recently, at the end of last year, got released on Amazon Video, which is where I watched it, and if you have Prime, is where you should probably watch it too. Link will be in the description. I wonder personally if the surge of found footage horror type films following the success of Paranormal Activity may have buried movies like Interior. It's tough to say, but the film was finished in 2014 and was just recently put up on Amazon Video, which means roughly 3 years had passed since the film was completed and was viewable on a major platform. To become big and get recognition, you need to get people to view your work, and that seems to be the issue here. Interior is a quality film, but not enough people know about it. It's got good reviews around the board, won a couple of notable awards, but it's seemingly been lost in the flood of available horror films. Sometimes what's good isn't popular and what's popular isn't good, but that's how the industry works. It's a shame that Interior seems to be a forgotten gem. Beckler has a real eye for horror, so I'm hoping he returns to the genre before long. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you like the video and the content I do here, maybe consider subscribing. And if you have a Twitter, you can follow me at Midnight Vigil. I'll probably be tweeting a little bit more about Interior. I really like this movie. It's really creepy, especially the opening scene. It made me jump really bad. It's just kind of sad because I've only just now found out about this movie. The cast and the crew have all moved on, and I wonder, when you make something that you put all of your heart into, I mean, it's gotta hurt when no one watches it or the word doesn't really get out. But that's what this series is all about, things that have gone under the radar. So it just makes me sad. Interior is a good movie. Obviously, if I had known about it then, I would have watched it years ago. That's pretty much it, guys. I will see you next time.